Reactions have been pouring out over the last few days after the news broke that Disney and Lucasfilm had canceled The Acolyte. No season 2 for Leslie Headland and the cast and crew of the biggest disaster that Star Wars has ever seen. Not only did this show have a $180 million budget, but it was also the least viewed in the history of Disney's Star Wars. It didn't even chart for the majority of its run, but when we finally did the numbers, we found out that it had the lowest finale in history, the least viewership we've ever seen for any Star Wars project. And it would be one thing if, maybe it didn't attract a lot of people at once, but the momentum was there. It just kept growing and growing. No, it didn't. It fell off from the already low start that it had. Well, I guess, maybe if the fan reaction was just so incredible, if a lot of people just love this show, then maybe you could justify doing a season 2 at a lower budget or something. But no, that wasn't the case either. Not only was it the least viewed show in the history of Star Wars by nearly 40% less than Ahsoka when it came to that season finale, but also, when you look at the audience reaction, it was overwhelmingly negative. The vast majority of people who did decide to give it a shot, they did not like the show. And what have we seen in the aftermath? We've seen fans of that show and the mainstream media come together to defend The Acolyte and demand a season 2. And also, to somehow come to the conclusion that Disney Lucasfilm, that Disney Star Wars, the very same people that have been trying to capture the modern audience, that have told the old fans to go fuck themselves, we don't need you anymore, if you don't like it, don't watch, that somehow this decision to cancel The Acolyte, well, it's just pandering to those people. The worst part about The Acolyte being canceled isn't the cancellation itself, but knowing exactly which part of the Star Wars fan base Disney listened to in order to go ahead with this decision. Stop caving to pressure and stand your ground if you've made something bold for once. Well, here's the thing. If you think that Disney and Lucasfilm are trying to cater to people that have been pushing against them for a long, long time, you could not be more wrong. They made this decision because nobody watched the fucking show. The people that they cater to, the pronouns and bio crowd, the modern audience, the young activists out there who, we don't care if it's good or not, we just want diversity and representation. That's who this catered to. And you know what? I do think a lot of you showed up. Unfortunately, you now know the reality. There's not enough of you to make a show like this an actual success. And maybe the post that's getting the most attention is this massive Rolling Stone article. Can the best of Star Wars survive the worst of its fans? Before Star Wars can have another successful show, some vocal parts of the fandom have to reckon with what they really want out of the franchise. And, Gary put it right. Good question, considering The Acolyte was made specifically for the modern Disney Star Wars audience. And of course, no one was interested. No one showed up. No one watched this. It was a failure. That's the reason it was canceled. Not because YouTubers didn't like it. Guess what? There's been a lot of shit that's got a lot of hate from YouTubers. They didn't go and cancel something or make an announcement that's canceled because of that. They're not going to. They don't want us. They actively despise us. They're catering to you people. And maybe they just discovered there's not enough of you to actually make this work. But getting back to this article, it's just one of many, that's just sitting there blaming toxic fans who didn't like The Acolyte for the reason it got canceled. Disney canceling Star Wars The Acolyte sets a dangerous precedent and is bad news for the future of Star Wars and Hollywood. Disney is happy to let the toxic dude bros win, I guess. Yeah, shocker that they didn't want to pour more hundreds of millions of dollars after a bad investment. But I wanted to get a little bit into the Rolling Stone article. Almost 50 years and one still to entertainment conglomerate Disney later, Star Wars isn't just a one-off world. There have been prequels, reboots, standalone television series, in-depth theme park edition that most people don't like. But like most pop culture, the Star Wars fandom, especially online, has become inundated with loud, conservative, and in some cases, incredibly racist voices. While Disney has never said those voices are directly impacting what shows get made, the vocal minority of Star Wars devotees keep limiting what they'll accept as true Star Wars. These fans say they're fighting for Star Wars' future. But if their endless fantasy world can't accept any stories that they don't recognize, some of the self-professed biggest fans of the world could be closing themselves off to any future at all. What is crystal clear that before Star Wars can have another successful show, The loudest voices online need to realize the Star Wars they want to return to never existed in the first place. Will the real Star Wars please stand up? And much of this article is retreading old things and old lies, right? That, well, the reason that they didn't like this character was because everyone's racist. The reason they didn't like this character is because everyone's sexist. You know what the vast majority of fans out there are asking for? They're not asking for Star Wars to be all white men. They're asking for good stories. That's the bottom line. That's what the vast majority of people out there actually want. You're pretending like Obi-Wan, like the way Obi-Wan Kenobi was treated in the Obi-Wan series, wasn't blasted by so many people. You know, after The Last Jedi, that was probably the most divisive thing that had come out. It was one of the most damaging things to Star Wars. And yeah, did Moses Ingram's Reva get criticized? Yeah, because the character was dumb and retarded. But they also criticized the way Obi-Wan Kenobi was handled. I don't think Obi-Wan Kenobi is a transgender black fat woman, is she? Are we going to be labeled sexist for criticizing what they did with Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi in that? I don't think so somehow. And I see so many people that are, desperate to get the Acolyte saved, renew the Acolyte. A lot of them are saying this. It's truly crazy. The Star Wars fandom situation has gotten so out of hand. The major publications are finally calling it out for what it is rather than, quote, fans are divided on this new release statement. This is a joke. This is the media. The reason the media is doing this is because they have been defending this show the entire time, even though it's been dog shit. They have been attacking Star Wars fans like myself for years and years and years. They have been in the back pocket of Disney. That's what's been happening the entire fucking time. And if you can't see that, you truly are an idiot. And it's all coming back to this premise that, well, Disney must have just listened to the people that they said the Acolyte was bad. And even though it got great ratings, they canceled it. No, the reason they canceled it is because it didn't get viewed. It didn't get watched. Nobody watched this thing. The least viewed Star Wars show. That's the reality. I'm sorry you've gaslit yourselves into believing that people like myself or people like Critical Drinker or Gary or Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers or whoever is your big boogeyman, right? I'm sorry that you have gaslit yourself into thinking that we, YouTubers, have so much power to influence Disney's decisions. The truth is, Disney would have loved nothing more. Lucasfilm would have loved nothing more for this to be the biggest hit that they could shove back in our faces, right? That's what they would have loved to do. But it wasn't. They would have done anything to justify giving this a second season. And quite frankly, I'm still a little surprised that they didn't. But this is the reality. People did not like the show. And worse than that, nobody watched the show for Disney. That's why this is canceled. I saw Star Wars Only put out this tweet, and Star Wars Only, I'm sure, is no fan of mine. And I don't necessarily agree with, some of the wording, right? But here it is. You guys saying it's right-wing trolls actually makes people feel more powerful than they really are. Why can't you accept reality that people didn't watch this show? Now, I wouldn't call myself a right-wing troll. I'm literally just giving my opinion, right? Would I consider myself right-wing? Absolutely. Some of the people in my audience, I wouldn't consider them right-wing trolls. I think they just don't like the fucking Acolyte. But the gist of what he's saying is true. You're pretending, right? Instead of just accepting reality that this small, tiny fraction of the Star Wars fan base with pronouns in their bios, gender confused, sexually confused, probably live with their parents and are still on their parents' Disney Plus account, that audience, the modern audience that you've been seeking out, not big enough. It's just not big enough. There's not enough people there. This is the show that catered to you. This is the show that catered to all of those people. And I think they showed up, but there's not enough of you to matter. You don't matter. You're insignificant. Disney certainly didn't cancel this to appease YouTubers. They canceled it because no one watched it. And the mainstream media won't accept that. They just want to blame fans once again. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.